Hey guys, it's Ethan with Dynamik graphic screen printing and graphic design. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to separate artwork for simulated process screen printing. We're going to be separating this manually in Adobe Photoshop. It's a few things that I need to make clear though before we start. There's actually more than one way to manually separate artwork in Photoshop, and it really depends on the design, the artwork. Generally, designs that have lots of yellow and red, like this one does, they're usually the easiest to separate, and you'll see why as we go through here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm working in Adobe Photoshop CS3 Extended. I'm sure most of you are probably working in newer versions, but as far as I know, Photoshop hasn't really changed anything as far as their layout on their workspace. So you want to make sure you have your layers and channels visible over here. The first thing that I do whenever I'm about to separate a job is you look the artwork over and you kind of look at what are the most prominent colors in the artwork. And as you can see in this one, there's lots of yellow. There's a little bit of red. There's a little bit of red in here. There's red around the outline around this text is kind of red, and there's what looks like a little bit of blue kind of in the jar, and of course there's white, obviously. So we're looking at about 4 colors. I think we can do this with 4 spot colors. So the first thing you want to do, you want to make sure that you're in RGB mode. All of the prep work for this artwork is done in RGB mode, and when you get ready to separate it, you want to make sure that you're still in RGB mode. Some of you are going to tell me that I should be in CMYK, and don't worry, we're going to switch to CMYK soon, but for the moment we're going to be in RGB mode, and I'll explain why as we go through here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to create an underbase of this artwork. You want the artwork itself to be separate from the background color, and what I mean is over here on where the layers are. See how I can hide the background here, and it's transparent. See, this is the actual artwork. This is the only thing that we want to be working with. This design is actually going to be printed on several different color t-shirts, and we want to be able to print them on any color t-shirt, whether it be red, blue, black, whatever. We want to be able to print it on all those shirts and it look consistent on all shirts and vibrant. So when you get ready to separate, you don't need the background color. You don't want that in there, because if you try to separate it with this back here, it's going to try to include this color in your separations, and obviously you don't want that. So we're going to hide the background, and I'm going to take my selection tool here, and I'm going to select the artwork, all of the artwork. I want to make sure that I've got the topmost layer selected, and I'm going to copy merged, and then we're going to paste. So now I have a composite version of the artwork. I'm going to slide it up here where it's close to the original, and then we can hide the layers down here that I was working with to make the artwork. Okay, so the first step is making an underbase, and it's probably the easiest separation to make. It's basically just an inverted black and white version of this artwork. So what you want to do is, now that you've got your composite layer over here, you want to right click and you want to duplicate that layer, okay, because we don't want to lose this. We don't want to lose this layer. We need another one, a full color version, to work from after we've done our underbase. Okay, so I'm going to hide that one. Okay, so I have the first composite layer selected here. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, and this is going to convert it to black and white, okay? And this is one of the first reasons why you want to make sure you're still in RGB mode, is because if you try to desaturate something like this in CMYK, it's not going to give you a true black and white version of the artwork. Yeah, it's actually going to be kind of tinted yellow, and so only RGB mode is the only mode that's going to give you a true black and white. And like all the white in here, you want that to be 100% white, so that when you invert it, it's 100% black. All right, so we've converted it to black and white. I'm going to go up here to Image, Adjustments, Invert. All right, so now we've got the artwork inverted, and this is what we're going to use to make our underbase separation. All right, so now you want to click the channels tab over here on the right, and this is going to give you the RGB, the composite channel, and then it's going to give you the red, green, and blue, each individual channel. And you can select really any one of these. It really doesn't matter because they're all the same. But you want to right click on any one of these three channels, and you want to duplicate this channel. So I'm going to call this this channel underbase, or we can call it white. Either one, it doesn't really matter. All right, so now see, this is the first. We've now created the first separation. This is our underbase, and what you want to do is double click on this channel, and it's going to call it the little box here. You want to change this to spot color, and you can change. You want to change the color to whatever color you're going to use. So I'm going to. There is no transparent white, Pantone white on my color swatch library, so I'm having to use a regular white, but it doesn't really matter. You don't have to use Pantone colors, but it does make it easier when you get to the press and you have to match ink colors. So, but for this one, we're going to use white, 100% white. All right, so now we've got our underbase, okay? And just to make sure that everything looks okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Take your selection tool and select the whole artboard like this. And then there's a little tiny button over here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's really, there's three lines and there's a little arrow. I don't know why Adobe made this button so darn small, because it's actually a very important menu, especially when you're working with separations like this. But you want to click on that button and you want to hit New Channel. And then we're going to call this one Shirt. And then I'm just going to change the color. You can do any color, it doesn't really matter. I think kind of a salmon color was one of the shirt colors. That's close enough, that'll work. Actually, let's change it there. So make sure that says shirt. All right, now we've got another channel here. I'm going to drag this one up above the underbase. And now that's going to give us a background color, so that we get a better look at what our first sep looks like. So there's our underbase separation. Okay, so now that we've got underbase, we're ready to pull the other colors from the artwork. All right, so let's go back over here to layers. All right, well, hang on, let me go back to channels, and you want to hide the two channels, your two separations. We don't need those right now. All right, so you want to go back over here to layers. You need your color layer now. You can hide the black and white version. All we need now is a color version. Now we're ready to pull the colors from this, okay? And in my experience, when you get ready to actually pull colors from artwork, this is when CMYK mode works better than RGB. So I'm going to go here to Image, Mode, CMYK color, and it's going to ask you if you want to flatten layers. I don't want to do that because we may need those later. So we'll merge, actually what it says. So I didn't merge the layers. Okay, now it's converting it to CMYK. Okay, now that we've converted to CMYK, let's pull these other colors. Okay, so you want to go back to channels and click on the yellow separation, right click, duplicate, and just click OK. You don't need to fill this in because it'll actually change this. It'll change the name of the channel when we select the color that we want. So we select yellow, click OK. All right, now we've got a yellow copy down here. All right, you want to double click on this, change it to a spot color, and then click this little box down here with the color. Okay. If you've never done this before in Photoshop, the default dialog box is probably going to be this color map like this. So what you'll want to do is click on Color Libraries, and then if you don't already have Pantone Solid Coded selected from the book, make sure you select Pantone Solid Coded from the color book, and then you want to use these colors whenever you're assigning a color to your other separations, because this is going to give you a more accurate depiction of what the design is going to look like when it's actually printed. Okay, so yellow. So we've now got Pantone yellow up here. See, it automatically changed it for me when I selected the spot color. Alright, so now we've got the shirt color, we've got the underbase, and we've got yellow. Okay, so, and you notice that there's a lot of yellow in here. It may look like overkill right now, but yellow is really one of the most common colors, and I promise that it'll all come together as we work through this. Alright, so now that we've got our yellow, the next color, let's go back to our original artwork up here. We're going to go back over here to layers. Well, actually, no, we're not. We're going to stay here on channel, sorry. So we're ready to pull the red on this, and we're pretty much going to pull the red the same way we pull the yellow. So I'm going to go over here. Magenta is the closest color we have over here to red. So I'm going to duplicate this channel the same way we did before. Double click here. Click spot color. And I'm going to choose red for this one. Pantone red, I guess I should say. Alright, so we got our underbase, we've got yellow, and we've got red. Now, if you look at this artwork now, you look, the lemons look pretty good, and the straw looks pretty good, but there's a lot of red in this jar, and it's more red than what we want in there. Okay, so we're going to address this in a moment. Okay, so, but for now we'll just leave this. We want to get the blue pulled also. The last color is the blue. You want to go back up here and click on the cyan channel, right click, duplicate. Okay, we've got our cyan down here. We're going to double click that, convert it to a spot color, and for this color I'm going to use 293. Pantone 293 is usually what I use for royal blue. I actually ended up using 294 because it was actually closer to the original color, the color that was in the original artwork. So Pantone 294. Shirt, underbase, yellow, red, and blue. Okay, as you can see, there also looks like there's a little bit too much blue in here too. And the only reason why it's like this is because we worked with the CMYK separations, and we're using spot colors instead of process colors, and so you have to tweak these channels a little bit after you pull them to make them work with spot color inks, and that's probably the most confusing part for a lot of people. Alright, so let's start with red. Let's get this, let's lighten this red up some to where it doesn't look so ugly. What I'm going to do is select the red channel. I've hid the blue for now because we want to be able to see the red. We're going to select the red channel. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast, and I'm just going to increase the brightness on this a little bit. I'm going to keep going up in slow increments here until I think I've got it to where I'm happy with it, and that looks pretty good right there. We'll go with that. 120 is what I did. See, that looks a lot better. It looks much better. We lost some of this in these lemons here, but it's not too important. The main focus of this artwork is what's on the jar, the tea in the jar. So we want to make sure that this looks good when we print it. Okay, so now let's deal with this blue. I'm going to turn this blue back on. Okay, now you can definitely see that there's too much blue in it. Do the same thing. Go to Image, Adjustments. All right, so make sure you have the blue channel selected, obviously. There we go. That's better. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back this down some more. 20. All right, now that I've got this, we're getting close. We're getting close to what this looks like. But now that I look at the artwork, it looks like there's not enough red in it now. So I'm going to go back to this red channel, and I'm going to leave the blue on there. And I'm going to decrease the brightness to bring some of that red back. Let's say about right there. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is you just want to tweak. You want to look the design over and make sure that there's not any colors anywhere that are unnecessary. And what I mean by that is if we hide the red and blue, we see that there's a yellow outline around this text up here. Okay, so you see there's a yellow outline around this text, and there's no red. I mean, there's no yellow in this part of the artwork. So I'm going to select this yellow channel and use my eraser tool, and I'm going to eliminate all that yellow. I don't need that. I mean, you could technically you could leave it, but you're just wasting ink, you know, and it's just something else you got to try to register on the press, and you know, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. All right, so I've got pretty much all of that out of there. Okay, we've got all the yellow out of there. All right, so then now we just got red. All right, but now as I look at the red, I'll zoom in here. You notice that the drop shadow, which is supposed to be blue, there also has red. And again, this is because we used the CMYK separations as the basis for our separations. So, because normally, if you were printing this as a process job, yellow, magenta, and cyan would all work together, you know, to create all the colors. But since we're using spot colors, you won't need this. You won't need red here. So we want to be able to erase this section of red, but leave this, because we need this red outline around here, but we don't need this drop shadow here, because all we want is just the blue. All right, so what you want to do here is you're actually going to use the blue separation as a template. And what we're going to do is say, well, this is our blue, and see here you can see the drop shadow. So you can just go up here to select color range and just use your eyedropper on the drop shadow. I've got this maxed all the way up to 200% because I want to make sure that I've got every bit of it. All right, so now we've got everything that's blue selected. So you leave the selection, okay, then you go back up here to your red channel, and we'll turn that on where you can see. See, now we've got just this selected. So I can take my eraser tool and I can eliminate that without affecting the rest of the artwork. So I'm just going to go along here. Well, maybe if I zoomed out I could do this a lot faster. That way I don't have to use another part to this video. Alright, just a little bit more. Okay, that should do it. And also, in the jar, all of this along the rim of the jar, see how it's blue? There's no need for there to be red underneath that, so I'm going to erase all that as well. It's just an unnecessary color to print. Like all this shadow underneath the jar, you don't need red there. Or yes, you don't need red there. So there we go. I've gone over the whole design, and there we go. So now we got our underbase, and that looks much better. See, now we've just got just the red, only red where we want it. And let's see, there's our yellow. And look how beautiful that looks now. The tea in there, it looks just like sunlight hitting the tea, iced tea. And then, and see, now it looks like to me we've still got a little bit too much blue in this. So I'm going to image, adjustments, brightness, and lighten it up just a pinch. All right, so I'm going to increase this to about 20. The red that was in these lemons, you can actually take your polygon lasso tool and just go in here and just select just the portion of the artwork that you want to adjust. So I've got that part of the lemon selected. I'm going to click on the red channel, and then you could decrease the brightness to bring back the red in those lemons. Let's say 60. And then you can do it again up here on this one up here. We'll just go around. And I'm just doing this kind of as a rough. You want to make sure you hide your borders here as best you can. You don't want to just have lines streaking through here, because it'll show up when you print it. Let's see, file, image, and all I'm doing is I'm just adjusting the brightness again on that channel. I'm decreasing it just to bring a little bit more of that red back. Let's say about 35 there. So now we can go through each of these. There's our underbase. I'll zoom in a little bit closer, we can see this. There's our underbase. There's our yellow. We got our red on top. We'll probably just do one stroke of red on that because we don't want to overdo it. And then I'm probably going to take some royal blue and darken it maybe a little bit to kind of get this dark blue, because it's not really navy and it's not really royal blue. It's kind of an in-between. You want it to look as close to the original artwork as possible. If we go back and look at the original artwork, this is the original. I just did that just by clicking on the CMYK channel up here. What it does, it turns off all of your spot separations and makes these visible, the originals. The blue, that still looks like there's a little bit less blue in here, and there's a little bit of white in these letters that I'm not seeing on our version. See how everything is it's a little bit too yellow, and there's still a little bit too much blue in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the yellow. We want to take a little bit of yellow out. We're going to do it like we just did the other colors, adjustments, brightness, contrast, and we're going to increase the brightness. Just start taking a little bit of that yellow out, and as you see, I'm starting to pull some of that white through now on these letters. So I'm going to do this at 60, if I can get it on 60. 61, that's close enough. And that's improved the look of that a little bit more. We want these letters to stand out when we print the shirts. Okay, for the blue, to lighten this blue still needs to be lightened up just a little bit. I'm going to select the blue channel, and I'm going to increase the brightness some more to pull some more of that blue out. Let's say about right in there. That looks good. Maybe 12. And the parts down here where it's really pronounced, I want to lighten that up some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser tool and I'm going to change the opacity up here to about, let's say, 15%, and then we're going to erase this. We're going to go over the whole areas that really can just go over the whole blue, to be honest. So I can show you, see how I'm going over this again, and it's doing it just a little bit more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to come back in here and darken it just a pinch, about 8. And that's pretty much it. This artwork's ready to print. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, just leave them in the comments below. I hope this helped you guys out, and like I said, you can subscribe to our channel because we're probably going to be doing some more tutorials. So thanks for watching.